write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. Easy Blues, you're always great with introductions. Who do we have this today on the program?
Ladies and gentlemen, we open the mind's eye and we can truly create not just on a piece of paper, but on ourselves and on the art form itself as it moves forward. That is one of the most incredible things we can do. When we can truly take that step and live the art in which we create is one of the most beautiful things. So for that and that alone, I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't need any accidents. But mentally, I want you to put your hands together for the fantastic, the amazing, the award-winning Juanita Sunday in the house today. Welcome, Benvenue, and how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations, first and foremost. I actually
Absolutely
was flipping through the book of face, and our good friend Babs had posted so that you had won something and to be congratulatory. And I was like, looks familiar. I feel like we're going to have her on the show. So that worked out really good. You're very welcome. Now, for the people who don't know and aren't playing the home game itself, why have you clung to this amazingness that is Afrofuturism?
Yeah, so Afrofuturism came about in my life formally like a few years ago. I took a online workshop called How to Think Like an Afrofuturist by this amazing artist, innovator, entrepreneur, Ingrid LaFleur. And so took this workshop and it really just opened my mind to another way of thinking and another way of being. And so since taking that workshop, like Afrofuturism, it was almost like a little like idea embedded in the back of my brain, you know, like you're thinking like Inception. It was almost like that little nugget that was like embedded in there. And so I was thinking about it for a few years, and then I finally had the opportunity to do my first Sixth Dimension exhibition. And so like that was the first idea that came to my mind was, you know, Afrofuturism. What if I could, you know, create an exhibition exploring Blackness across time and space and what that would look like. And then from that exhibition, it kind of just exploded into more things. And I took the exhibition from London to New Haven. And once when it was in New Haven, it turned into a festival. And now it turned into the Black Futures Institute. And so I think my goal with it initially was really just to introduce the concept to my community, introduce the concept to folks in Connecticut. And so now as I'm continuing to like work under this guise of Afrofuturism, just really thinking about the ways that we are building the next generation of Black futurists. How are we innovating the way we're thinking, the way we're interacting with each other in community? How can we sort of break outside of these molds and confines of what we've been taught to believe about ourselves and what we've been taught that our society has to function in this specific kind of way. So, yeah.
Who is this future? Who can we look out for? Who are the bright minds you have been talking to?
Oh, do you mean like folks here that like I work
here,
with? Or
anywhere, Hartford, New York. You've been around.
London.
Yeah.
France.
So many great people. Like one of the first people that comes to mind is Kamani Harrison at the Key Bookstore. She's based in Hartford, but also does a lot in New Haven. And I met her a few years ago. She's one of the first people I started working with when I opened my art space called Cultured AF in London. And, you know, her starting with this idea of this mobile bookstore that can, you know, be anywhere. And now to see how she's innovating the idea of what a bookstore could be and creating this whole online community and wearable technology. And she's just an amazing person and definitely one of the people that's going to be innovating and hacking our futures. So definitely look out for her and shop Bookstore and all local bookstores as much as possible. And then I think of Olori, another wonderful Afrofuturist based in New Haven. And she's doing a lot of great work. And she actually has a project that's launching right now.
Okay.
That's going to be, you'll see it in New Haven. So we'll talk maybe a little bit about that later. But, so many great people I can go into, but those are some of the two first that come to mind.
Did everything happen so fast? Because like a lot of great things are happening to you, as we see just on social media and just with the publishing and everything going around.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Did everything just happen so fast, just with all the opportunity, all the accomplishments that's been going on just throughout your whole entire career? Because things are just like moving really gracefully and positively for you, just through my perception and through Easy's perception of just how we just see your career.
Yeah, that's interesting. It feels, I'm sure it looks like that way on the outside, right? You sort of do one thing and then the next thing kind of like falls into place right after. But one of the things I love to talk about is sort of like all the mishaps and that happen along the way, right? The things that people don't get to see. They get to see the wins, but they don't get to see the failures along the way, or you know, the missteps. So one of the things, you know, I talk about, I had my art space, Cultured AF in New London, which I opened in 2019. And, you know, people always ask me what's happening with it next. And, you know, I don't know. After I had to close my art space 2 times, you know, my space flooded. There was like so many issues and things, you know, that happened. But there's also the side of those things didn't happen, I may not have moved to New Haven, and, you know, and all the wonderful things that I've had the opportunity to do in New Haven, and the people and community I've been able to create here, and all those things happen. So it's always that, like, that flip side, you know, you have these moments where it feels like things aren't working and failing, and then it really just takes you to another level, or to the next opportunity that comes along.
Tell me about that first event that you made. The first event, the first Juanita Sunday event.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm trying to decide
that you can
whether it was the open. I'm trying to decide whether it was the open mic or my exhibition. One of the two. So either or. I was working at an art space down here in New London, and one of the first events that I did to like get into, you know, building community and producing events was I took over their open mic there. And so like poetry, spoken word, open mics has always been near and dear to my heart. That's always where I found my people, my community, you know, since college. And so when I had the opportunity to like take over their open mic there, that's when I was like, oh, I love doing this. Like, I love bringing people together and producing events and making people happy. And then at the same time, one of my first exhibitions was also in that space called Illumination. And so like that was the first time I was able to curate an art exhibition. And so it kind of brings them both together, where I can curate the show, the art, and put that together, and then produce the opening reception, which is an opportunity to you know, do an event and bring people together in a different way. So that was back in 2017, maybe. So that might have been like one of my first opportunities to be like, oh, I love this. I love working with artists, putting art together, but then also thinking about the programming and the events and the opportunities to like really create community and bring people together over a shared idea or something like that.
Planning events can be fun and stressful at the same time. Meezy and I tried doing it, I think about 5-6 years ago. We were going insane. Some acts came on time. Some acts said they were going to come on time, and they were just, okay, we're waiting. And then we just waited until that very day. It was insane.
It's always leading up to it. That I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I'm going to quit. This is terrible. And then the event happens. You're in the middle of it. You're halfway through, and you're like, oh yeah, this is fun. Like this is
Yes.
cool. Like people are happy and like
Mhm.
I'm like rejuvenated again. But no, always leading up to it, I'm like, this is terrible. Like no one's gonna come.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, the
gonna be
whole.
awful.
That's.
Why are we doing this? Why are we here?
I fully agree, and that's one of the things that like I've always found when you do an event like that is to be as structured, have your organizing as structured as humanly
Oh, yeah.
possible.
Amen
Because
to that.
Yeah.
the
Preach.
reason why you do that is when real life gets in the way, and it just I'm trying to find the right words to say because I'm on air. It just we'll say pukes all over your plan.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's that whole aspect of it, and that was, you know, thank goodness we had the time structures the way that we did because we were able to take some
Yes.
artists
Yeah,
and put them
man.
on earlier and switch that what
Exactly.
was necessary and what to go around because, you know, and I would tell Preston the entire time, like, look, man, you know, we're being this prepared because as soon as we go live,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
all the wheels are going to fall off. There's just nothing we can do about it. It's going to go to spit, and that's just the way that it goes. And he was like, "Yeah, no, it'll be fine." And then this person's like, "I didn't get paid," and blah blah blah. I'm like, "I told you.
Yep.
I freaking told you."
And I was still smiling.
Yep.
I had no choice.
Yeah.
But what does Black excellence mean to you? I don't think I asked you that. Like when you know, within this whole entire time we've been meeting and talking, and you know, just like your perception,
Yeah.
your thoughts.
I have an interesting like relationship with that concept now. In terms of like I understand the importance of it, right? This
Right.
idea of uplifting ourselves in this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I have this contention where I feel like it adds this pressure to Black people to be something all the time, right?
Mm.
To maintain this sort of like perfection or excellence, where there's times where I'm like, you know what, I just want to not be excellent today, you know, and that's
Mm.
okay. Like I want to
Okay.
let me be average, you know, and that's okay, right? There's times where we're not always going to be everything, and that's okay. So I'm just like exploring that concept. Because you know, as someone that deals with anxiety and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different things, I think sort of these ideas and terms we put on ourselves can add that extra pressure. And so just thinking about ways that we can relieve that and be like, you know what, I did my best today, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, so I've been having this like weird relationship with the concept of like Black excellence and what that looks like and what that means. But I think in general, I think as Black people, if we are living in our authentic truths, we are being the best that we can be for ourselves and for our
Mm-hmm.
community, like that is Black excellence.
I like that answer. I definitely like the answer. It's very, very honest too. Definitely very honest. But was curating an accident a great accident that happened to you? Was it the best accident of your life?
Absolutely. I think so.
Okay.
Like it wasn't something that I initially planned to. It wasn't something I was thinking about, you know,
Mm-hmm.
going to school or thinking that it was like a career or a real thing that people do. Like I didn't even know what curators were until I started like working in an art gallery and then seeing like, oh, this is something that I could do too. So definitely one of the most beautiful accidents. But then when I think about it going back, I'm like, well, I've always enjoyed like, you know, art. I've always enjoyed putting things together. Like HGTV stayed in my home, like on TV. So I'm always thinking about design and like curating spaces. And I just never thought about it in the world of like art and like as a career and those kind of things. So it definitely was a happy accident, but something that also just kind of made sense too when I started to really think about it. But I never imagined like when I did that first art show in 2017 that this is, you know, where I would be now. And I'm actually applying to grad school to get my MFA in curatorial practice now. So
Good for you.
yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Definitely has been a long road, a surprising journey, but definitely one of the best ones.
Easy. I see the finger up. I know the cues. So I'm gonna give this to you, and then I got my own questions. Go right ahead.
Well, no, I find it super interesting, and I love the fact that you've discovered, you know, I guess the career that fit you perfectly, even not knowing that this career even existed or there was a potential to have this career and to be able to go back to school and get degrees in it is even more phenomenal. So high five for you for that.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely big fan of giving flowers for when they flowers while everyone's alive. So there are your flowers. But now that you are like doing that and you're doing the curation aspect, and how much does social media play into your curation, we'll say design or strategy? Because now, I mean, a good influencer can be a curator as well. They're just curating their own catalog of experiences.
Yeah.
So I want to see like what type of role social media plays in what you do for a living.
Yeah. Honestly, I should be using it more than what I am. Like I'm so behind on so many posts, which I'm so sure most people are. So it's not something I enjoy doing, even though my actual like bachelor's degree is in digital media and design, and part of that focus was on digital marketing and social media for business. So like I have a really great understanding for it and the strategies, but I hate doing it. So what I do use it most for right now, like in my practice, is actually finding artists.
Right.
And so I do a lot of my like search for artists and expanding my network of artists through Instagram. So that's probably like the biggest platform that I use the most. And then like when I am using it for promoting or the thing I'm doing, Instagram is probably the platform, and Facebook. I use that as well. I know people say Facebook is old, but I'm an diehard old Facebook person, so
I
I
don't
stay
think it'll
on.
ever die though.
It's not. I think it's
No.
it's one of the OGs.
Mhm.
And so like I think it has its cemented its place. It's really great for events. Like if you got to put your events up
Agreed.
and like promote
Agreed.
it in ads, like
Mhm.
it's one of the best places for it. So to answer your question, I am not doing what I need to be doing, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully one of these days I really would love to get a social media assistant. Putting that out there in the air.
There you go. She's directly message her for the details and everything of that
Yes.
nature. Definitely. No, we don't want to get into that. But tell me, I know you told me about the first event. Tell me about the first cosplay. What made you just want to be a part of that world, and what made you, and is it your therapy cosplay too? Because a
Yeah,
lot of
that's a
cosplayers
good
we talked to, we thought that it was very therapeutic for them because they can act out their inner child, or they can be
Yeah.
with people, to express their interest. But I want you to answer and go right ahead.
Yeah. So I think like informally, not even realizing like it was an entree into cosplay, it probably would have been like one of my steampunk costumes, like
Okay.
a few years ago. So I love steampunk. I love the aesthetic of it, and I have a few different looks that I do. So like that was probably like my first like foray into like really thinking about like costuming as like an art and design and like putting that together. And then like more like intentional cosplay, I would say maybe would be my Garnet from Steven Universe.
Nice.
That's probably like
Nice.
one of my first real characters, like a specific character that like got me into like thinking about cosplay more, and that's become like one of my staple ones. So I do the regular Garnet, I have a wedding Garnet versions that I do, and I don't think my Afrofuturism is necessarily cosplay, but a lot of people enjoy when I get into my different Afrofuturism looks and things as well. So
break down the two for me, for the average person, so they can be educated more, please.
Sorry, break down what?
Attribute. I know you said the Afrofuturism and the cosplay. You said people get it confused. Like, what's the confusion, and how do we separate the two?
Yeah, sure. So Afrofuturism is a concept and an aesthetic, right? So a lot of people know the aesthetic of Afrofuturism, right?
Right.
Futuristic looking, Black people in different things. We think of Black Panther and the aesthetic of that and different things. And so aesthetic and design is one piece of Afrofuturism, but it's multi-genre, right? You can think of it in literature. People use it in science and tech, and it crosses different sort of genres and platforms. So it's really more of a concept. It's an idea and way of thinking that sort of breaks down this idea of centering Black people in our world, right? We are the center of our universe, past, present, and future. And so it's you could see it in music. So it crosses so many different ways and ways of thinking and really ways of being, right? It's even beyond that. And so like that is the sort of field that I work in now in a bit in terms of my work and things that I'm producing. And then cosplay can be an Afrofuturist cosplay, right? You can definitely do an Afrofuturist cosplay, but cosplay is like the art and design of dressing up and creating a character, right? So whether you're cosplaying, usually costume playing a character, a specific thing from a movie or a comic book or a TV show, or creating your own character and becoming that. And so like that's what cosplaying is. So they're very much interrelated a lot of times, but can be two separate things.
Thank you. What led into intro to the Afroverse? Tell me about that.
What led to into the Afroverse?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a summit I did last year. It's crazy that was last year. It feels even so much longer ago than that. So that was a one-day summit that I did last year. That was part of the Sixth Dimension Festival. And so festival was a deconstructed 2-month festival, meaning that there was 10 different events that happened over the course of 2 months at different places and locations. And so Into the Afroverse was the summit part of that. And so like that was a one-day event that introduced the ideas of Afrofuturism in different ways. So it was really cool. There were speakers that were like local speakers, as well as renowned like Afrofuturists, Dr. Juanita Anderson. I mentioned Ingrid LaFleur, or like juggernauts in the area of Afrofuturism. But then we had local people who were doing great things, folks that I mentioned earlier, talking about the work that they're doing. There was a workshop on Afrofuturism through food, which is really fun, and folks got to sample food.
Nice.
There's printmaking, vendors. So it was a really cool, just one-day experience for people to dive into Afrofuturism in different ways. We had our pop-up gaming lounge from Third Space. They're always great supporters, and also go check them out. So it was a really, really fun day and something I'm looking to do again. I'm hoping to do next year. So as we talked about, doing events is a lot of work, and I had initially wanted to do it annually, but I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to do this annually. So right now, biannual summit would be a really cool thing.
A really cool thing was that you did your own Black and Latino Comic Con. I know I'm gonna butcher the name. It was at Southern University. Diaspora. Forgive me. I always butcher the word, and I feel so bad about myself. But it was really fun to attend, and it was really fun getting to know and not really getting to know, but like knowing people's backstory about how they made a whole bunch of independent comic books and anime, which was pretty cool. It was the first time I saw Latino anime for the first time, and it really got me excited just to see what's to come just with these creators. What made you just said, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing and just bring my own Comic Con to the people? That was that was a very great thing you did.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it. So that event is part of Culturally Lit, which is an organization that I'm a part of. And so that was the 3rd annual one. But that was the first year that I produced it. So my team, shout out to Ife, was like, you know what, Juanita, this is your area. You're the nerd. You love the graphic novels. Like,
Also,
do you
very
want
sorry to cut you off. Shout out to WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, and Mr. Easy Blues. Juanita, go right ahead. My apologies.
No worries. So yeah, they were like, hey, do you want to take the lead on producing DiasporaCon for this year? And so I was like, absolutely. So I appreciate my team for allowing me to like fully just unleash, and they trust my vision to put things together. So that was the third year, and it grew a lot from the first and second year. I was really excited to see the turnout, to see the vendors, and what this event can become. So yeah, I think we need something like that here in Connecticut. I met folks at the event that were like, yo, I've been looking for my community. I've been looking for members. And so it was really cool to meet people that were like, oh, this is something that I needed. And so I'm excited for next year. It's going to be, even better as we continue to grow it and build it.
Where were the first two at?
The first two were at, another college that I can't think of right now.
Okay.
It was a little bit more out the way. So definitely the move to Southern really helped a lot.
Okay.
In terms of the event, the location, and everything. So like that was one of the changes we made for the third year. And we definitely saw the improvement for that and everything. So yeah.
Nah, it was great. I hope it gets bigger. I hope you have. I didn't really get a chance to see most of the panels, which I was very disappointed about. I heard Raheem Nelson did his thing at one of the panels. He's a great friend of myself and Easy's. And definitely, man, kudos to you. That's all I got to say. That's how I just found out about you and everything, man. Definitely kudos to you. You're very welcome. And you were on Channel 8, I think, like last month or a couple months ago. How was that?
Yeah, maybe a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
What for? I'm not sure.
I think it was for intro to Afro. Yeah, oh my God, I'm butchering the words. Into the Afroverse as well too, I believe.
Yeah, was I wearing my fro?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what that was for. Yeah.
Go ahead, Easy.
By the way, how do you actually maneuver in such a design? Because that's like to me, I'm like, wow, that's a driving with the top down type of do there.
Oh yeah.
How does one maneuver?
Getting into cars is always the hardest with the fro. You have to definitely like bend and contort in certain ways. So that's always an interesting experience. And it's so funny. I didn't even get that wig for a cosplay at all. I did this exhibition called Nappy like a few years ago. And so I got it just to wear to the opening reception. I was like, oh, I want to wear like a really cool afro to the opening. And it didn't even come in time for my opening reception. So I didn't even get to wear it for that. And then when I thought of doing Garnet from Steven Universe, and I was like, oh my God, I have this huge afro, like that'd be perfect for a Garnet cosplay. And so now it's just become like one of my staple cosplay pieces that I wear for different things.
What is the dream cosplay?
Oh, the dream cosplay. I don't know. So I just recently did Droka from Castlevania Nocturne. And so like that one was on my list. Yeah, that was on my list for the year. And so like I was thinking about that one for a while, and I was like, finally did it for Halloween. And this is where like the perfectionism comes in, because other people are like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm just like, it could be better. I have my notes for next time. So that one is on my list to like, I want to improve and to get that one better. But I love that character. I'm not going to give any spoilers if you watch the show, but watch the show. Castlevania is so good. Both of them, Castlevania and Castlevania Nocturne. But yeah, so that one's still on my list. I'm like, I want to perfect this one.
Noted. How did you get the name Sunday? Or how did you get Dawn? Well, how was the name Dawn onto you Sunday?
Yeah. So Sunday is a family name on my maternal side, on my mom's
Hmm.
side. So we are, a lineage of Sundays, and that name can be traced back to, one of our first ancestors here was a formerly enslaved person. And so like that name just goes back generations. And so I never use my real name on my social media accounts, and
Hmm.
so I just started using Sunday as my last name, and it kind of just stuck. People enjoyed it, and people started to come to know me as that. So then I started using it in my artistic practices and as my curator name, and it kind of just became this thing. And I was like, I like the way that sounds. So yeah, it's just a way for me to pay homage to my family and to my history. Yeah.
What haven't you done career-wise,
What haven't I
or
done
what needs to be
career?
done?
What needs to be done? I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
my first exhibition out of the state.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so my exhibition at Fairfield University Art Museum is supposed to be traveling next year. So I'm super excited to that. It's supposed to be going to Atlanta first,
Nice.
and then a few other stops after that. So I'm really excited to see that, and then yeah, and to just keep growing and curating in different places and spaces. So excited for that next step in my career.
Atlanta's fun. It's like a blur of
Yeah,
heaven. It's just like New York. So
yeah,
definitely, it's inside. It's exciting. So you're definitely gonna have a great time.
awesome. Thank you.
Definitely a great time. Easy. I see the light bulb above your head. What do you have to say?
Well, no, I think it's incredible, and I love the journey and where things are going to go next, and all that different type of thing, But also, I love how you're highlighting this incredible art form itself, and I'd love to know more about what it is and where it truly came from.
My curatorial practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me it's interesting. A lot of people ask, how do I curate shows and different things. And so like I don't know what other curators, do. I'm not, as I mentioned, not like specifically trained in this practice or this world, but for me the curating is part of the art for me. Like it
Mhm.
is my artistic practice in that way. And so I am really heavily involved in like all aspects of my shows.
Right.
From the initial idea to thinking about the visual design of the marketing and like how that's going to go out and what that evokes for people, to the actual layout. There's times where I create installations or create pieces for my shows as well that go into them. And so like for me, the curation of it is part of a practice for me. And I think you mentioned earlier, Preston, just in
Hmm.
terms of like you talked about with the cosplay, but
Yeah.
I think curating for me is sort of like that piece. Like I love being able to like, so for my show for Sacred Spaces at Fairfield University,
Hmm.
so they brought in all the artwork, and it was just all sitting around the room. And so I just got to like just sit there in the middle of the room and where everything's gonna go, right? And that feeling of like starting to put this puzzle together and thinking about, well, should this piece go next to this one, and what does that mean? And just trying to create that feeling. And the director was like, "Do you want any help?" And I'm just like, "No, no." I'm like, I just want to be here, be slow with it, and like take my time. And so like it is that sort of like really kind of like peaceful part for me of like when I get to actually physically put the show together and
Mm.
see this idea like come to life. I had this idea in my head, and now it's becoming a physical thing. Yeah. And so I don't know if that answered your question or where I went with that, but
I
yeah,
don't
I
know. I
think
enjoyed the journey. I don't even know if it answered. I don't even remember what the question was, to be honest with you. But
that's what
I definitely
curating
enjoyed the
is
journey.
for me.
Now,
Yeah.
I think it did. I think it broke it down. You broke it down, but you had a little story into that as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But tell me the story about the Black Futures Institute. Tell me everything
Yeah.
about that.
So what that is, that came out of the idea from the Sixth Dimension Festival, and folks were asking me, are you going to do this again or what's next? And I wasn't sure at the time. I knew I wasn't going to do another 2-month festival because that was a crazy idea to do the first time. And so I did still want to continue doing things with Afrofuturism and like what that could look like. And so I had this idea for the Black Futures Institute, which is really sort of like this enterprise of bringing folks together from different disciplines to be able to create and build together, and really just sort of harness this energy of the next generation of Black futurists,
Right.
So like you mentioned, one of the first questions y'all asked me are like some other folks that are doing, great things. And so that's what I want the Black Futures Institute together, is like bring all these people together that are doing these amazing things, that have these great ideas. And like, what if we put that brain power together? And like, what can we build, together if we did that? And so like, that's what the Black Futures Institute, the idea of it is. And so like the way that's going to manifest at some point is sort of like this think tank of creatives and of people being able to like produce and create together. It'll also be where I house the different Afrofuturism events and pop-up things that I do, the summit, and then really want to tie in like an educational piece to it. So whether that's like workshops or classes or skill shares and things like that. So yeah, it's something that's like, I want to shape it along with other people. And so just going to be bringing folks together to be like, well, what do we want to dream up together? What do we want this to look like? Like, what things do we want to create and produce? And then hopefully we'll start seeing some of that manifest next year.
What else is going on this year for you in 2024? With you into everything. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So 2024, we're wrapping up. I'm meeting with folks for the Black Futures Institute, and so we're really planning for next year. So top of the year, it's going to be an explosion of different things for me on different levels. So Black Futures Institute, and there's folks who already do Black Futures Week in Connecticut. And so like that's been designated the last week of February in Hartford.
Really?
So we're working on getting So we're working on getting different destinations. So I'm hopefully want to get New Haven to designate the last week in February to Black Futures Week. And there's some other towns that are working on getting that done. Culturally Lit is going to be kicking off with our programming, the Year of X, which is celebrating the centennial year from Medgar Evers and Malcolm X. And then in January, I also have an exhibition opening up at the Norwalk Art Space on January 17th. So the new year is going to be an explosion of so many great and fun things happening.
Okay, go ahead. Wow.
Yeah. So the end of 2024 is calm. It's planning for next year.
So 2025 is no stopping on the gas. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. No stopping on brakes. 2025. Nah, that's awesome. I didn't even know there was Black Futures Week. I'm mad under a rock for that, but I think New Haven.
Yeah, I'll make sure I send you some stuff on it. But there's some great folks that have been doing work up in the Hartford area. And usually it's like a week long, different programming. When I was back in New London, I participated in an event in New London that was sort of part of it. And so, just looking forward to like introduce New Haven and do some things up there for Black Futures Week.
I know you said, did you say anything about designing earlier in the broadcast? Was that another entrepreneur effort you wanted to do? Was design clothes, like go into that spectrum?
Designing, interior design. So like that's one of my areas. I love interior design, putting together like my partner, we talk about how much furniture gets me excited. Like I get really excited about new pieces of furniture and looking at furniture. So like, and it goes along with the art piece, right? And so like one of the things about art is like, I want people to live with it. It should be in your home, put it on your walls. And so one of the things I do want to marry is that that piece of like, all right, bring art into people's homes, but then also like the interior design of the whole thing. So that's definitely one of the pieces of my career that I want to start pursuing as well.
Nice. We got Juanita Sunday with us on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City Made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. Easy. Anything else you got to say?
No, I think the journey is absolutely incredible, and I love that you're moving forward and doing all these absolutely incredible things. I love also that you're looking for like a physical space so that you can start to do these things over and over and over and over and over again. Are there any spaces in New Haven that you like to highlight that are really good for doing to work with?
Yeah, so one would be Possible Futures. Always have to give Possible Futures love. I did my last event there, which was Freedom Futures Block Party that honors Fred Hampton, as well as just, celebrating our futures and dreaming. And so Possible Futures is always a great support and a great place to do events and programs, and also shop local bookstores. But then, Third Space, I mentioned them earlier, is a Black-owned arcade gaming lounge, really cool space to just go hang out, or if you want to do events there. Definitely, recommend them. And then just for like local artists, I don't know some folks don't know, but the Arts Council has a space called the Sandbox, which is free for folks to just reserve and do events and do programming and things there. So that's just a great resource for artists to use.
We're coming to a close, unfortunately, with broadcast. Any inspiring words you want to get into somebody who wants to go into a similar path as yours? And please replug all the great events that you got coming up and your social media. This time is yours, Juanita.
Yeah. So just words of advice is keep dreaming with no limits, and then just go out there and do it. It's the only way. Just go out there and do it. And then, as I mentioned, so many great things coming up for 2025. Please be on the lookout for Culturally Lit and our programming, DiasporaCon, April 12th. We already have the date for that, so be excited for that. The Year of X and those programmings coming up. So you can find all that out on culturallylit.org. If you want to find out what I'm doing personally, you can find me on my Instagram, curator.nita, Curator Anita. So you'll see my upcoming exhibition at Newark Art Space, as well as you can find what I'm doing with the Black Futures Institute and all those programs coming up next year as well.
Juanita, thank you. And we appreciate you. And we hope to have you on again sometime. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Mr. Elm City Made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. We appreciate everyone on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.